So welcome to our 11th OLAP Zoom in. So OLAP standing for online live art performance. So this is presented to you by Harvestworks and Experimental Intermedia. And this was a series of informal community meetings or a community forum that Carol Parkinson and myself, Katherine Liberovskaya, started in 2021 when we were deep in lockdown, and more and more people, artists of different media were turning to the internet to do live online performance. And we found that a lot of it was very boring. People were just simply switching on their webcams in their Zoom interface and, you know, playing an instrument in front of it or acting in front of it. And so we decided to create a series dedicated to what we thought were really interesting approaches to online live performance, where people were really taking into account the of oh, somebody has their sound on. They should turn their sound off. I hear coughing. I think, Robert, could you turn your sound off?
Sorry, Sarah, I will.
And yeah, so people who were really thinking about you know, how to address this reality of people viewing performances on their laptops, on their smartphones, walking around, and so we did 7 of them or 8 of them in 2021, and then we thought we would stop because everything got so much better over the summer and fall of 2021. And then Omicron hit in December. And so in January, we brought the series back. So this is the 5th meeting in 2022. And so without further ado, I bring you Carol Parkinson, who's going to introduce our invited guests for this week.
Hi, thanks, Katherine, for the introduction. And it's true that, you know, Harvestworks is really, and I am really happy that our collaboration with Experimental Intermedia continues with this Zoom in, which is our community discussion forum. For this event, we've invited Michal Seta and Nicolas Bouillot from Montreal, Canada, who co-created the KaonCPT, a very interesting collective dedicated to flipping time realities, which of course we'll find out more about. Michal Seta is a sound artist, improviser, and coder. He co-founded the No One Receiving Band, as well as Unisex, a duet of spoken word and electroacoustic music. As a coder, he has worked with other artists as well, and he is currently a researcher and developer at the SAT's Meta Lab. Nicolas Bouillot is the research co-director at the Society for Art and Technology, that's SAT. He is the main developer of Switcher, which is a multi-channel streaming engine, and Shma Dada, and you'll have to correct me for that pronunciation, which is a library for sharing data streams among applications. He's also initiated Sati, a 3D audio rendering engine for various speaker configurations. So let's hear from them and find out what they're doing.
Thank you, Carol. So the library is pronounced Shamdada. It's like a low-level library which is probably not of interest today. It's like system-like library.
You're muted.
Miao, do you want to share your screen or start the introduction?
I can do that. So yeah, I'm just going to add that, as you probably understood, I and Nicolas, we actually work together. So we work together, and we try to have some kind of artistic practice together sometimes. So sometimes we overdose, but it's great. So I'm going to share my screen right now.
But at the same time, thank you for inviting us and for the organization. It's a great pleasure to participate. So, thank you.
Yes, it's great. Thank you for the invitation. So we are going to totally improvise, I think. But we have this presentation that we've prepared, as you can see, for a Now Net Arts conference in November. So we're just sort of loosely going to step through these slides, and I think I will maybe explain a couple of things first, but feel free to stop us if you have any questions, or you need you want to discuss some things as we go along. I think that usually works best. So yeah, okay. There's some media missing.
Would you go back to the title? Maybe we can talk about where this presentation come from.
Yeah,
and
go ahead.
There's few words in here that are kind of maybe not obvious, or that could be we can explain what we mean by this maybe also. So we did all this Kaon'CPT collective we are going to present later, and we noticed that the approach we were taking is not so common. And we wrote a paper for the Organized Sound Journal, where we tried to. I mean, we didn't try. We did made a step backward just to say, okay, what have we done? What is the purpose of this in terms of collective, in terms of playing music online and things like that. So the KaonCPT collective, for instance, the name of the KaonCPT is coming from I think the word is in English is particle physics. Kaon is one of the particles that has some special properties. Oh, great, merci Mirao. And what is special for this particle is the only particle that has some ambiguous properties related to time. So under certain conditions, it's not obvious that it is not going backward in time. So this is the only evidence in physics that there's something not strictly linear in terms of time. And one of these properties is the CPT variance. I think if you search for CPT in this page, you'll get the CPT something. So CPT invariance. So this particle doesn't respect this invariance, which is what I tried to explain earlier about time. And when we play online, I guess you all know about that. There's an issue with latency, and there's something to deal with. So you can either just play and do as is, or you can also try to play with it. And some people are using it like network reverberation or things like that. But with the KaonCPT, what we've made is to consider that there's different temporalities and time realities. So maybe we explain that later, but this is really related to that. This is the name of the collective that was created at the start of the pandemic. Mirao, you go back to the presentation, maybe?
So there we go. The conducted live improvisation we will explain a little later. And
Yeah.
yeah, and I think that yeah, I think this is the image that's missing from the presentation. So these are the people who participated in this.
This is a conference that I'm watching about art.
And
not interesting to you girls.
But you're gonna see what we could do with
yeah, we're interested in
everything,
everything actually.
Turn her audio off, please.
This is, I thought this was
now,
part
I
of
have
the
a question.
performance.
Beth, can you
You have fun in the park?
your audio off?
Oh,
Beth,
yes, sorry.
thank you.
So yes, so as I said, we will explain a little bit real-time comprovisation thing. So this is what we're trying to do is we're trying to plan a well-balanced activity that involves a little bit of improv and a lot of freedom for people and a little bit of careful planning to get some kind of interesting result and a result that will vary from one time to another, but that will still be repeatable in some ways, something to stick to, and then it's fun to compare the results from one time to another. And so the improvising agents here are the people who are participating and have taken steps to, or rather, we were interested in being interested.
Michal,
Yes.
your sound is coming in and out. It seems like when you turn your head, we lose you.
Oh yeah.
Maybe you need
maybe
to put
it's
your sound input up.
Yeah, I can try that.
Yeah, it's you're also very low volume, so
Oh, very low volume.
yeah, compared to Nico.
Yeah. How's this? Is this better?
Much better.
Yes, this is better.
Much better. Much better.
Okay. So also in this adventure, we were trying to be as inclusive as possible for people who are participating. So we took an approach of and rather than aiming for some particular skills, we were aiming for having as much fun as possible, especially since we're all so distant. Now, what's not in real life? Of course, in real life, this is a new term, I think, relatively new that came in to counter what's happening with stuff. So in our case, some of us, some of the members of the collective actually live in Montreal. There are 4 or 5 of us, but with the pandemic, it became impossible to get together and to play. And so some of us in Montreal, we actually had this habit of getting together once in a while and
Michal, if you're not speaking directly in the microphone, we don't hear you. So
is it possible that you have a filter on that microphone, because it sounds like it's on a filter, some kind of like
okay. Yeah, Nico, can you take over maybe, and I will try to fix my.
Yeah, sure. So this not in real life thing it's when we are writing this paper, there's always this virtual between in presence, and it's the vocabulary is not really clear between what is the opposite of virtual, because something real is when you're on a 3D engine and playing with other people. This is real, actually, even if you're like in something similar to a metaverse or something like that. So we use this not in real life. So this is taking from in real life the internet expression, and not in real life actually means not on internet. I don't know what's that. Okay. So basically the collective is running on internet. There's 14 time zones. So we have maybe later we'll see like a geographical image where all people are displayed. So there's one person in Japan, one in Singapore, few in the US, some in Montreal, and we played for festivals that were like in Europe. And okay, so it makes things very special in terms of how to rehearse, how to, yeah, that's it. This is when we were playing for the Network Music Festival. This was, yeah, so all the rehearsal, the gig itself, coordination with the people from the festival is something very special, because personally, as there's few people, Andrew, I've met him, but Stuart, Dirk, and Hiroya, I've never met them. And people from Network Music Festival also, we went there. So there's all this time thing to deal with, and we felt it was critical to get a system to rehearse, and all social process that is that lets people just contribute together. Maybe Mira, we can go back to the presentation. So we put in place several things. So we were aware that space and time is totally different from what we can live when we play together in the same room. We were also aware that the body representation on the performance is very specific, because as it was introduced earlier by, I think it was Carol, maybe not, using just video conferencing is a way to display the body, but also there's all this relative position, looking at other people, make glance, move around the space is not possible with this. So that's a different musical culture. We'll see that later with the score, because we use a graphical score for structuring the comprovisation. And also all the social process was made online by schedule and so on and so forth. So we will see that more in details with the setup. So Mira, you can maybe go forward with this slide. You want to explain this this space? So this is the performance space. Mira, if you want to try your audio and explain this. Mira made this space. This is a 3D space. I see you're still on mute, Mira.
Yeah, now.
Okay.
Am I sounding a little better?
Maybe.
Hopefully. Yeah, so this is a 3D space that was designed specifically for one of the performances. And it features some anamorphic projections, actually. And so it's made to encourage people to move around the space and actually see well, the texture, discover the drawings. They're kind of abstract, and some of them are animated. So, and in fact, the space can be visited we'll post you a link later if you're curious. And so the space was designed for people to sort of wander around, and we took a very classical approach to show the people who are playing as a mosaic on the screen, and we had also projected the score, or one of the instances of the score in the space to give people some, well, anyways, those who are curious and kind of can figure it out, to give them a little bit of an insight into what we were doing. Yeah, so Nico, you want to explain the multiple time layers?
Yeah, sure. So we used a pretty complex stack of software. So the one of the main thing that was required by the initial score is to get a same time interaction, to be able to say, okay, let's say we play at a sound at the first time, it will sound for the audience like we played the first time, so that we could create an effect like being very well synchronized, like a fanfare-like, very timely, strictly timed interaction. So oscillate between this very synchronized moment and other moments that are very free, where people can create textures and things like that. So with the software stack, we had several time layers. So the first one is the network metronome and a 1 measure delay using the software Ninjam and Reaper. So it means that we have a microphone that is like the present. I hear the microphone, and if I'm a musician, I play on top of it. And when I hear from the other is what was played the measure before. So I'm kind of perceiving me in the present with the other in the past. And everything is sent through a network, and it's like asymmetric for each player, because they all hear each in the present and the other in the past, but sharing like a common time and tempo. So there's this moment in time. There's also when we are rehearsing and discussing through either Ninjam or the video conferencing things, there's the conversational latency with avatars in the virtual space. So in the virtual space, but also in the video conferencing and things like that. The virtual space is what just Michal showed previously. And it was not obvious, but it's going to be obvious in the video. But people can go inside and navigate into this virtual space, and they are like small avatars. So we, as a band, we were also as avatars in the space, and we could also move around and meet each other, and so meet the audience. And also the mix of the music and the webcams were displayed on a like big screen in the virtual environment, as in the previous things, and this was streaming through a streaming service like Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, whatever, and it goes back with few seconds latency. So when we, as a performer, are inside the virtual environment, we are basically dealing with 4 or 5 different time layers. For instance, me here in Montreal, I'm playing. We are two playing in the same room, so we have this same room time. We have this Ninjam time local. We have this virtual environment time. We have this also conversational time with the video conferencing, and also the stream coming back from the streaming service like YouTube. So I think it's something like 5. And during the interaction, it's like we are always switching between where do I listen something, do I have to communicate with somebody, and it's about dealing with all these time layers and be able to hear and act in the right time layer. So Mira, if you want to.
Yeah, and to add to this, there is also the fact, so on a more specific, in a more specific terms, we were using the Mozilla Hubs virtual environment. And the way Mozilla Hubs works is that the audience that comes to the space and is listening to some stream. So in this case, the stream that contains our performance, each audience members may be hearing it at a different time as well, because the audio and video is delivered according to network conditions. So so even when the show starts and ends, it doesn't start and end at the same time for all the audience members. So it actually gets even more complicated.
Mira, est-ce que tu pourrais monter ton volume? Apparemment, c'est encore it's still a little low.
Okay, how's this?
Je sais pas.
Ça marche pas. Ok, bah,
Il y a une question. Is each performer able to control which layer of time they are monitoring? Yeah, actually, this is a good question. This was part of the complexity of it. It's all local. There's no central server that control each of these time layers. So it was like going through all the software, web page, and control the monitoring. I think it was one of the main difficulties for each performer. So yeah, each performer needs to control, to mute the right audio channel and things like that. There's one exception: the resulting stream, which is sent to Twitch and sent back to the virtual environment, is mixed by one of the performer, who do basically a video capture and a mix into the Ninjam, Reaper Ninjam software, and then stream. So there's kind of static mix. So, and this is controlled by one person, who is external to the sound production as a performer. Voilà. Merci Carole pour la question. Donc, so yes, we made some avatars. So in this picture, this is just one part of the avatars. We'll see them later, but this is the people involved. So what I did to produce these avatars is to take some face picture of each of the performer and use AI service online that produce a 3D model. So here we have the 10% 3D model for the 10 persons, and we add on top of them some clauses that we probably see later in action. So this is like the body representation of all the collective. And here is a view from first-person view when you are a person from the audience or one of the performer, and you are inside the virtual environment. This is what you can see, and obviously you can move around. So, for instance, the Audio Art Festival is the avatar of the Audio Art Festival. So the person we are looking through the eyes of this avatar and streaming to their streaming service for the festival. And DB also on the left is one person of the audience, and we can see also just below the share button there's Z Konati. We see there's like a small sphere and a small body. So this is one of the performers. This is Zach, which is looking in the front of which is looking to the video mosaic from inside the environment. So, is this a video, Miral? No, okay. Well, maybe you can go
The
back to
video
the
comes after, I think.
Okay.
So yeah.
this is kind of one of the initial stack of software. So there's a Ninjam on top left for playing with others and mixing streams from the other performer and getting the metronome. We see the one. This is the first time here of a 4-time metric, I think. On the top right, this is Mozilla Hub, so a view from the virtual space. On the bottom left, this is the first version of the score. So this is an interactive score on the web, on the browser. So Mira will explain that just after. But this is something that is controlled by Mirao, and he can give us in real time some the indication of what to play or some constraints, and also the video conferencing. So here we have this 4 screen, and there's different time layers in all of these, and we have to deal with how to mute in this software, how to adjust sound and things like that. And it was one of the most hard to achieve task, but we did, I don't know how many performance, maybe 5, 6, or 7, and at the end, like after 3 or 4 times, was like it's like a reflex. It's very fast to set up for those who are trained for this. Ok, Mirao, je pense que tu peux aller for the score. So this is the second version of the score.
So yeah, so that's the second and final version. Can you hear me better now? Can you hear me at all?
Yes, we can hear
it's
you.
better.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
So yeah, so the score it was basically this kind of image was being presented to everyone. The group was divided in 2, so the actual notes were not necessarily the same for both groups. But the bottom part of the score was the same, and the bottom part was basically presenting the time organization of the music in like a simple 4 basically type of rhythm. So there are 4 rectangles that represent 4 beats, and so the piece was organized around oscillation between very timed moments when everybody plays together and when things eventually shift around, and sometimes they get to this kind of ad-lib, rhythmical ad-lib sections where everybody basically plays, nobody follows the metronome. And so so there is also this interesting use of the Ninjam network music software. As Nico explained, there is always there are delays that are multiples of a musical phrase, which we can define what it is. But the thing is that we never know who will be ahead or behind. So there is always this opportunity for this kind of overlap between what different musicians are doing, and so this was also taken into consideration in the interpretation of the score, where the transition, people were invited to transition to the new set of notes, for example, and take basically as long as they wanted. And there was also this interesting feature of the score with the yellow duck. This duck is a logo of Mozilla Hubs, and so basically this thing was indicating to us and potentially interested audience members to open the direct input into the hubs to create even more well, on one hand confusion, and to create this Back to the Future effect, because knowing that when we were performing, so especially the members of the collective, as we are playing, our input to hubs is muted, of course, and so all the sound goes through the streaming server, and it arrives basically it arrives in the hubs with several seconds latency. It could be like up to 10 seconds, in fact. And so when we activate the direct input into the hubs, well, then our signals, our whatever we're doing is being heard before the actual stream arrives. So that creates this another layer of time in this piece. Yeah, so there was that was one piece. We have since made another piece which takes a little different approach, and this is more. We were still playing with the metronome more or less, but it takes an approach of a kind of a textual score that gives all kinds of textual descriptions, and gives the musicians a little more more freedom to improvise and interpret what it says. But I wanted to play. Oh yeah, so this is the Perripplayer piece. Maybe I'll play a little bit of the beginning and then fast forward a little further, just to give you an idea. So what you see here is someone navigating within the space, and well, sometimes we get.
What is time?
It's a the piece was put together, edited. The video was edited.
When did it start? Did it start before the universe? Will it keep going on afterwards? Almost like it happened before.
I'll drop a little
Not exactly.
here and there.
Thing about it.
So here we get a section where people are a little more activated and they're more or less stick to the displayed rhythms.
It makes no sense to ask why. But you can't stop from asking. Someday you will. Imprévisible.
And so here is like a more ad-lib, rhythmical ad-lib section.
Passé, ça revient. Truqué, truffé du destin. On va rétrécir le chemin.
So this is more or less how it happened on one of the moments. And so Nico has talked about this already pretty much, but there was actually a pretty heavy software stack. So it takes. We had one person that was managing most of these things, but it would take probably more. So basically, there is one person that's getting all the Reaper signals, that gets the video mosaic from Big Blue Button, that navigates in the hubs screen, and that potentially gets a score as well. And with all the audio, gathers it all in OBS, which is like a video broadcasting software, and then the whole mix of it goes through a Twitch server and is displayed in hubs. So yes, this is basically the pieces of the way we organize our things is that we want to have some kind of graphical scores to organize and direct the performance in some way, and keeping the scores as minimal as possible in terms of information overload, and to allow for different skill levels and different cultural backgrounds in terms of interpreting the score and allowing for different levels of interpretation. And we're very much interested in how we interact with the audience. So there is of course the platforms such as Mozilla Hubs allows the audience to come in, and in fact we could have we could hang out with the audience after the show. We can interact with the audience members, but having an audience in a virtual space is of course problematic on many levels, and Nico spoke about this before, in terms of eye contact and body language, and this could certainly be these kinds of things could be improved, and I think there are already a lot of different people thinking about this, and so are we as well. And this kind of performance opens the door also to a kind of mixed experiences. So it's totally possible to show up at some venue. People, for example, here in Montreal, there are a few of us. We could be playing on some stage in a venue in Montreal, and invite people from other cities to make to play together, and then think of a way of representing their presence inside the space and having them participate.
Now,
yeah.
Maybe there's an interesting question. Maybe I can tell it to you. Do you make a distinction between comprovisation and structure improvisation, and maybe also open score?
So yes, it is a compromise. There is a distinction between structured improvisation and comprovisation. I think, in the sense that this piece was conceived as almost a composition that offers the performance. I mean, speaking specifically about Perripplayer. So it is a composition, almost a composition that gives the players some freedom of interpretation. So yeah, but I think we can discuss even further the differences and the nuance between comprovisation and structured improvisation. And the score, I don't know if it's open, but I have, I don't have a problem with actually making it open. I can't remember if it's how open it is, but eventually it will be.
C'est ça. But Miao, do you have do you know what is structure improvisation actually? Is that something related? Maybe Carol, you can give us more insight about it. Is it something like when like bebop jazz, for instance? This is kind of, is this a structure improvisation? Is this what you're talking about?
Yeah, I think in the spectrum of intentionality, common intentionality in a group, anything that is like mutually agreed upon that becomes like these posts to keep things, I don't know, give shape to something. So it sounds like with comprovisation, it's a matter of degree as to how much compositional intention is in a piece. Whereas maybe structured improvisation might be a little more open-ended, perhaps. I don't know. I'm still kind of absorbing.
Okay. Yeah. I would say that on my side, it was my first comprovisation, I think, experience. And what is different from the other kind of improvisation I've seen before, because it's here using the score, that this is kind of, there's no solo. This is your turn to be in front of. This is not. It's kind of horizontal relation between the member, between the participants, and we have this score. We are still on several groups, and our constraints let us a lot of freedom, but this we are always into taking care and listening to the other are playing to try to fit with there was no like special role in this. We were all part of the same sound machine that progress in time. And yeah, I don't know if this is what we could call comprovisation, but at least to me, this is what makes us as performer being part of the composition while being improvising. So. Rao, je crois que tu voulais dire. You wanted to say something?
Yeah. So yeah, in general, that's also my point of view. But it's an interesting comment, Carol, about the open-endedness of the structured improvisation. It probably is more open-ended in the sense that the intention of a comprovisation is actually like. It leans towards composition in the sense that when we have a composition that's really set and defined, it every time we perform it, it sounds more or less the same, right? And then well, that of course depends on our threshold of acceptancy of what is the same. But let's say for the argument's sake, it's pretty much recognizable from one time to another, and a structured improv can or may not be recognizable from one point to another, from one performance to another, depending on which parameters of the improvisation are structured. I see comprovisation as something that is a little closer to being similar from one performance to another. So there is this intention, this compositional intention that opens, that gives some freedom to interpretation, so that it can be rediscovered every time we play it, but we're playing around the same parameters. And in some sense, like jazz is kind of comprovisation, right? I think, I mean, every rendition of a piece is recognizable from one time to another, but just differently interpreted.
I would also say something, because we have two comprovisation. The second one is only textual give indication, which is quite different because it opens more freedom. But what I would like to say is that with Perripplayer, the first one with the times and the notes, we played, I don't know how many times, maybe 5 times in festival, and I did some mixing of them, and I would say that with this kind of score, I would, even if this is 2 different piece and people play what they want, I can clearly recognize after like 20 seconds, this is Perripplayer, which is has so little space. I think we played it twice, and it could be like from one moment to another. It's really different because this is very very loose in terms of interpretation, and I think it should trigger like some different thing in performance mind. But the Perripplayer one, for sure, when you hear that this same time, first time thing, and goes back to something more unstructured and goes back to in it, it's very obvious that this is Perripplayer.
Is everybody playing instruments and instruments, you know, which actually have actual notes, or are some people just, you know, doing field recordings or noise or?
Yeah, so there was, I mean, the Perripplayer in particular is centered around some notes and certain, you know, trying to make certain types of harmonies and things like that. But of course, it's not limited to just that. And one thing that I encouraged in the interpretation of the Perripplayer score in particular was that if your instrument is not pitched, associate a certain sound with a certain pitch symbol, so that there were in fact sometimes not all the instruments are analog or physical instruments. There were some digital instruments being used, and even DeAndrew was at some point doing some live coding at the same time. So there were other sounds that were recurring, and interestingly, I think he was varying his sound palette from one performance to another. So those were different kind of approaches, but the piece is definitely open to that.
Yeah, we also I mean, Mirao, sorry Mirao, I'm talking for you, said to performers, if you feel like you need to disobey, it's okay, and you can hear it sometimes when it's very like timed and slow. There's some like sounds that come out of nowhere. But still, if since we are 10, if a majority just follow what the indication, it still sounds like it is. And okay, so there's another point which is related to your question, is we have a spoken word person, and is not a singer. He does not control like pitch with the voice. Have some sentences he used to. So basically, he was almost not following the score, except when it said like be quiet or things like that. He was just like speaking when he was feeling that this is the moment, because this is what's happening. And he was kind of worried that what about me, because this rules doesn't really adapt to the words, to the way I'm doing that. And yeah, disobey and do it.
Yeah, he was kind of organically adapting his performance to what he was what he was hearing. But of course, at first, in fact, when I first wrote this Perripplayer piece, I did not foresee that there would be a textual part, and Bennett just started improvising some words in our first rehearsal, and it kind of stuck. And he continued working on the text, I think. So of course, in this case, I would not expect speech happening exactly in the same musical rhythm as it was written. So it was perfectly all right. And disobedience is a good thing sometimes.
I wondered if you got any feedback from your ensemble members. How did they react to the experience?
It's a great question. It was really interesting, and I think what I can say, like the best example, the greatest manifestation, in fact, of the enthusiasm for this piece was Dirk, who's in Singapore, and sometimes he would agree to play shows at 3 a.m. So in general, I think it was a good response. Everybody kind of liked the experience in the musical way, and you know, the kind of a social interaction between musicians way. The part that was a little harder was dealing with the technology and the network, of course, because sometimes people get kicked off the server for some reason. So there were a couple of more technical hurdles that were harder to deal with, but that didn't stop us from actually wanting to do it again.
I have another question. Can you
Sure.
identify the weak link in that, you know, you showed the diagram of the, you know, 3 or 4, yeah, that guy, the video distribution. You know, what was the weak link in the whole thing? Like, was it the Zoom, or was it OBS, or was it just internet speed, or what do you think it was?
I think there wasn't one that was weak. I think it was the fact that there were so many things that we were using at the same time. That was problematic in a way, because also this means that you know, most of the performers had to run all this software on the same computer. So there is like a little bit of a, you know, organizational and logistic problem on your own screen to deal with those things. You need to have you need to look at the score. It needs to be as big as possible to be readable. You want to be in the hubs, because that was part of the concept of the piece, and hubs is a VR piece that uses quite a bit of computer resources, you know, CPU and GPU and things like that. So it was that was the problem. It was like just too many things to deal with at the same time. But in terms of each of those tools individually, they were, you know, just great for what we were doing.
I just want to interject here. I noticed that Carol posted a long question in the chat. And since we're recording, and that the recording does not record the chat, it would be great if people would ask their questions on the video, but I can read this if you want. So
Yeah, sure.
any desire to perform these comprovisations within fewer layers of time, even in same space and time, or is it all about negotiating these staggered perspectives for the performer?
Yeah, actually, yes. I mean, we have many layers of time, but during the action, mostly the more important layer of time is the one in Ninjam, because this is where you have the metronome and you listen to the other one. So basically, when you're performing, the two windows that need to be displayed on your screen is the score and the metronome. Basically, this is the most critical time layer. The other one, going to hubs, is like something you could go in and activate some other time layer. It's more like playing with this time. So it's kind of you don't have to always to deal with all this time layer when you're playing. It's not that much of a headache, actually. Well, and also for the second part of the question, what we want to do right now is to start to mix a stage-like performance with the remote performer, because we see there's a good team spirit in the collective, and it would be very fun to continue to go forward with this, and people from very far also, to find a way to kind of be able to create such result and ambience on the stage, mixing live audience and audience from performer from internet. In fact,
well, you have a great space in Montreal, the Dome, to do like hybrid performance in different ways.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Just a question: is the metronome that's in Ninjam, or is it a
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And so, yeah, so I just wanted to elaborate a little bit on Nico's answer to the previous question. Or anyways, maybe offer another perspective. This piece could be done in real life, or mostly in real life, and we could, in fact, in order to respect this idea of different latencies, is we could still delay the signal and still play with the Ninjam, or let it go through some kind of a server for this kind of experience. But at the same time, we could very easily ask performers to take their time when they're changing. How are they reacting to the score? Because in fact, like in specifically in the Perripplayer situation, the reaction was definitely delayed by like the whole musical phrase. So this kind of approach could be very easily replicated in real life.
I have another question. You mentioned big blue button earlier, and I have no idea what that is. I'm curious about that.
Oh, it's a video conferencing software. It's similar to Zoom, Google Meet. It's just another alternative. Well, there is one thing also that is perhaps pertinent to some of this conversation, is that the software tools that we use, we are trying to privilege open source software. So non-commercial and not kind of software that's controlled by multinational conglomerates. So Big Blue Button being an open source software, it was a kind of a natural natural for us to use it.
So you could have used Jitsi as well, for example.
It could have been Jitsi as well, yeah. In fact, we used Big Blue Button because one of the members of the collective works at a place that actually owns servers, and they had a Big Blue Button instance running, and so it was more reliable than using a public Jitsi instance.
Yeah, if I could add on the open source side, there's one important aspect for us for the open source. It's mostly maybe we are aware of that, interested with that, because we are also do some software development and things like that. But when it's open source, it means that you can get a copy of the source code and do some modification and kind of adapt the software to our own needs, which is very interesting, because it allows for first start an experiment and see how things goes, and say, okay, next step, what we do, and we know we could just use the software, modify it, integrate them together. So for instance, we see we have like Mozilla Hubs, Reaper, blah 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 blah. All this software, we could imagine if we have basically time and money for doing that, we could just integrate them in the same server, modify the source code, and embed everything in a web page, for instance, and share this to the original software. So it's kind of allows in the artistic process to adapt the tools exactly as a painter that will makes the colors and say, oh, I have this recipe for this color, which is very nice, and let's share it. And if you share it, somebody would improve this recipe, and then it's just tool for doing art, So yeah, so we have this approach to the technology and the software.
Just a question, do you know other guests that we've had here, which is APO33 from France? They're in Nantes, France, and they're also a nonprofit in France, and they actually already had started doing online music festivals 10 years before COVID, and they do everything only open source and Linux if they can. So you should be in touch with them. I can put you guys.
Definitively, yes. Oh, what's their name again? APO?
APO33. APO33.
Wow.
No.
Okay. They're in Nantes, no?
Nantes, yeah, Nantes, France.
Yeah. I was aware of them. I just wasn't aware of their network shows part. But I visited their place, the building, and yeah, it's a really fun space. It's a good point. We should partner up with them.
Who has more questions? I see there's fewer people. I think some people are taking off because it's Sunday.
But also the time difference. I'm pretty tired, I gotta say.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe I'll just give you the link to the to our space, because you can in fact experience the Perripplayer piece except it's not live. It's a recording that plays, but you can get into it. Let me just find it.
And the audio on the performance, is that like really good? It's excellent audio. It sounded pretty good on the video.
Yeah, it's all Nico's work. He did a really great job in mixing.
Yeah, actually, there's different level. When you're playing with Ninjam, it sounds multi-channel, and I mean it's compressed, but it's I think it's lossless. So the sound of the instrument you have in your ear, the other player, is really good, and it's inside Reaper. So then at the end you get the recording in the multi-channel recording, and then with this I could make a mix afterwards. So the sound is really dependent of each channel, is really dependent on the equipment of each musician. But here in this case, we had like musicians that are using a computer for recording or for teaching or for programming. So we were lucky. We had like a good very good channel, and the mixing was not that bad because the quality was here on all the pipeline for the recording.
So Nico, was that in Switcher? Because Carol mentioned Switcher earlier. So on a side note, could you talk about Switcher? I was curious about that.
Yeah, Switcher, because we're at the SAT, we developed a network of artistic venues in Quebec that are doing telepresence, artistic event and performance. And this is not dedicated to music, actually. This is broadly artistic events on stage. So there's teaching going through this network. There's also theater is big in this. It's and the challenge here is to do a multi-channel streaming of audio, video, data, and MIDI, OSC, many things like that. So Switcher is very good at handling all this data and streaming in low latency to the other venue. And we never had this goal to get like distributed metronomes and things like that. So we didn't edit that to Switcher. What we did for music, we had a project that was interesting. We wanted to get like one conductor for classical music conducting two orchestra at different places, and write a composition according to this. So composition like based like something like a canon where people will be able to play on top of what was in the past, a little bit in a Ninjam style. And when it goes back to the original place, that could be played on top on a different time layer and should harmonically work. So for that, we had like a feature in Switcher for LTC timecode in order to ensure that we could add delay and control things like that. But yeah, Switcher is mostly developed for not for online on a web page or at home, but for venues that link together a lot of signals, audio input, video input, plug to projectors, multiple projectors, do a scenography on the stage to get multiple screens, to give the illusion that people are present with one with natural size, and do some interaction. things like that. But yeah, but it could be added to Switcher. Also, Switcher is working only on Linux, and it's harder when you're from home and you're a musician to say, okay, I need to install Linux and start to write a script for this. So. Yeah.
So I'm part of a live audiovisual ensemble. We've been performing online like you guys. And we are in the same boat where we're taking on hybrid spaces now. And the discussion has circled a lot around the fact that the way in which the musicians have connected has been through that intimate headphone space. And when you introduce a live space as one of the nodes of presentation, it's a different kind of listening, hearing space. And how can you satisfy both? You know, like what's successful in this space, will it at the same time be successful as a live space for audience and performer? And so we're doing a lot of experimentation of how to still, for the online performers, how to still connect, but take the headphones off. So we're experimenting with, you know, speaker placement in the individual nodes. I think the jury's still out, actually, you know, whether it's a good thing to ask of a performer to be able to satisfy both agendas or both expectations for what kind of experience you're trying to deliver. So I'd be curious what kind of journey you guys go on with this. I think it's sort of where we're at right now, at least hopefully, you know, that hybrid spaces are kind of, you know, here on out sort of thing, regardless of, you know, pandemic status period, just being able to connect with all the musicians, you know, internationally the way that we have been, you know. But I'm kind of less interested in the traditional telematic performance where you try to make it seem like that remote person is present, you know, by having them represented, as much as what artistically and aesthetically could be interesting to explore in those simultaneous spaces, you know. But anyway, I think it's they're all interesting questions to take on.
Yes, they are, and these are very good questions. And with KaonCPT, we haven't actually moved to hybrid performances, but we've had some experience with hybrid performances before, both professionally and artistically. So now we've been, you know, together we've been working at the SAT for 10 years, and the SAT has always been trying to develop these kinds of things. So we were on the technical side, and but also on the artistic side in our private lives, and this is very interesting, the question that you're asking about, you know, not representing other people that are not fighting the latency, but incorporating the whole experience into the actual performance. And it's I've seen some very interesting performances like 10 years ago. There was a collective called Intact that we've collaborated with at the time, and they were doing distributed kind of a theater performance. It wasn't really theater, but more like a performance type of thing, where they were not only interacting between people but also with objects. And so there was, like, you know, some tiny, like, robotic things. And so one action in one location was causing something else in another location. And they were doing this kind of loop that was organized in such a way, it was staged in such a way that you were losing completely the sense of the fact that there are people in different geographical locations. You were just absorbed in this, you know, this magic, you know, of the performance. And I think that today with the tools that we have, and the possibilities of creating kind of immersive spaces in some physical locations and connecting those spaces with other spaces. I think we actually have now all the tools we need to create these kinds of experiences and start thinking in a creative way about deployment of those performances rather than keep focusing on the technology of it. But yeah, we should keep in touch.
But yeah, this is also a really interesting thing to think about with all the problems we have with the environment and how much pollution travel is. It's really a great idea to develop better and better how we can collaborate across the world without always taking a jet plane back and forth, right?
Yeah, I would add also on top of this that when we are playing with people from very far location, they are always, I mean, they are kind of in a community, which is the community of people in Singapore, for instance, if I'm talking about Dirk or Andrew on the other side of Canada, is always with this community of arts there, and there's an identity to this community. And when you play with people from very far, that you can include in it, it's kind of bring something new. For instance, people from Montreal I used to play together, and we are basically when we play together, we are jam band. We go into a space, we have a drum kit and things like that. Even if some of us are doing some electronic music, experimental things, like when we are playing together, we are jam band. And when we go online and we put somebody here, it kind of there's a shift in the way we all play together, because there's somebody coming with different identity that bring us somewhere else. And I think that this thing is not dependent on being purely virtual or being in front of an actual audience. I mean, in real life. And I think that if we go in real life in front of an audience and we take some other identity into the performance, it will create something that is just not possible to create without that, because we may be like comfortable in our kind of group identity, and we are all kind of thinking the same way or agree or whatever, and it's kind of bringing us somewhere else, I think. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Carol, I think, you want to go ahead, Michal? No?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that this in fact happened when one of our performances that we did as a collective was in Andrews University, and he invited his students to play with this, and so that was like a new experience of the same piece, which was very refreshing and very interesting.
But I just wanted to get back to Carol's question about what do you do about sound when it's hybrid? And you sort of raised this question already our last meeting, I think, Carol. Carol.
Yeah.
And very few people left, but we have 2 Carols. But yeah, and my thought at that time, 2 weeks ago also, was that I think for now, the best solution is to work on both on both sounds, that like for the people who are remote, that the feed of whatever is happening live should have maybe a line feed to their headphones, and then like the sound check should be done, like the remote people should play into the live space and sound checked with the live musician. So that's my take. But it's of course a very boring solution. But I do think that it should be both, because like especially if it's hybrid, you're going to be having people listening from the space and totally remote. So in a way, you know, my solution would be to work on both sounds and not make it just one. But
yeah, this is I think this is something that, you know, needs to be experimented, and it will of course depend on, you know, the type of music or the type of experience that we're presenting, and how many people are participating, because there is a certain technical hurdle that we need to deal with. It's the people who are presenting from outside. What is the kind of an audio feedback that they're getting, and especially if we take into account the latency, because we have no choice. They are playing with someone, and maybe their audio feedback is delayed, which may introduce a certain, you know, musical disruption in the thing. So these are things that are to take into consideration from both, you know, aesthetic and technical way. And then there is also these people who are co-present in the venue. In fact, when we have two different venues that are presenting to two different publics, there are many things, many layers of difficulties. In fact, so there is this, you know, audio feedback. How do we deal with this? How do we deliver the audio to the performers? And is this the same audio? Like, they need some kind of monitoring system, right? And then what is delivered to the audience? And then we need to deal with not mixing those signals, right? The monitoring may have different time of arrival than the signal that's delivered to the audience. And then the performers on stage, they need to be in sync with each other, with those who are co-present and those who are distant. So there is like a lot of logistics to experiment with and play with. Yeah,
Logistics, but also how can you preserve the strength of either? You know, like, so I had the musicians go through this reflection, you know, and it was interesting to hear them talk about the online communication and the headphone space. Is that they said they were able to revel in really nuanced subtlety that in a live circumstance might be really hard to pull off unless it happened to be a moment of silence where you could just do that little thing. But otherwise, in general, they just feel like they're able to explore this whole other palette of just barely doing something, you know. But how can you still have that in a live circumstance where it's a little bit more about presence and sort of a projection and kind of, you know, reaching your audience that's in the same space? You know, it's almost like two very different modalities that like, I don't know. So like, how do you combine the two and still have it? Yeah, I don't know. I think that's the question now, really, you know, to be mutually invigorating, you know.
Yes, and at the same time, there is nothing wrong with playing with headphones on stage, right? I mean, people do that already. And then you know, it all depends also on the kinds of music that we're doing. Is the music already very loud? Is the loudness the factor that that provides the nuance, or is it the, you know, the lowercase type of thing, you know, very tiny things? And I think there is I think that because of this move into, you know, like networked things, and we are used to be seeing with people with headphones on and all that, we can introduce that into live performance and especially into hybrid performances. And in fact, maybe it is also an interesting opportunity to research these relationships between the sounds that we hear within the space, because they have different characteristics, right? Like when you're playing in a concert hall, you may want to take advantage of the of the acoustic space that's there. That's very unique to the space, and you may at the same time, or maybe you want both, right? You want to have this acoustic experience and this very very intimate audio experience, either with your own instrument or with somebody else's instrument. And I think that I mean this can definitely be used and combined. But then what does the audience do? What does the audience hear? Are we able to give the audience the same thing that we will get from this? Like you could be wearing the headphones and take them off when you want to hear the acoustic space, put them back on when you want to hear someone dealing with some very very nuanced things. But where's the audience in this?
But yeah, but you can mix, like the previous meeting we had these Berlin-based collective, I guess, Unstum, and so they developed an app which is an augmented reality app, and so now the hybrid work they want to work now post-pandemic is how to have performances for both an acoustic and physical space, and this app so it presupposes that the audience would also have a smartphone, and like actually as I hear you talking, I can imagine even performances where you would instruct people to have like one earbud in but like with earbuds you could have one earbud in, one earbud out, or you could have different parts of a performance. You could say, like, part 1 is for the room, part 2 please go to this link and listen with your headphones, part 3 back to the room. So I think that, yeah, there's many combinations to explore.
Yeah, but we of course approach all these things from the point of view of a traditional performance, right? A concert space, right? So there are musicians on stage and other people are passively sitting and listening, and so this possibility of doing the hybrid performances could also be used as a springboard for taking the music performance out of its traditional confines and taking it to something else and changing the way people experience this music, right? So it could definitely become a habit that people bring in their smartphones and their headphones, and they listen to the music, and sometimes they put in the buds or the headphones just to hear certain things that they cannot hear while they're listening to the acoustic space, and vice versa. I mean, this is
So it's BYOH, bring your own headphones. So.
Yeah, exactly.
and device, because if you have headphones, it's not enough.
Yeah, for this, I wanted to share an experience we made in 2013 at the Network Music Festival. Maybe I can share my screen. Give you. I don't have the sound to share with. Do you see the Vimeo page? Okay. So this was at the Network Music Festival, and the camera is taken from the audience, so people are sitting in front of the camera and see the stage. And here, this is me playing bass, and I'm going to put a headphone, and I have in the headphone a percussion recording, and I'm playing bass on top of it. The audio is sent to Montreal because this event is happening in Birmingham in UK. And the people on the screen are in Montreal. They play on top and goes back. So the audience see me playing bass. Basically, they were like maybe 4 or 5 seconds latency. So they would see me doing some gestures in front of the audience and getting the result back from what has been played in Montreal. So it's kind of hybrid in the sense that I'm there with them. They see that I'm playing in advance, and people from a remote location are contributing to it, and they have the results. And in this case, it's kind of similar, I mean, comparable, because I have a headphone to DJs that mix music when they have exactly like me right now. One ear is just listening to the ambient sound, and the other one is listening to another world, basically. And it allows to listen to both simultaneously. So that was the case here. I mean, I was using headphones to hear the microphones, to hear the recording. And also I was in contact with the public. And I think there's something around this, where do you put your headphone? Can you remove your headphone and listen simultaneously the different time layers? Is the sound system from the space is adapted to get like on stage feedback, but also some mix for the audience? Yeah, I think this is very open question, and there's many approaches and answers that would be very interesting to explore. Actually, I think this is the thing to do right now. Actually.
And also, will they be maybe developing a new kind of headphones, kind of on the idea of, like the screen glasses, they go on top of your glasses and you see reality and you see something on top. So one could imagine, headphones, something that wouldn't plug your ear, but that would be on top, but that would bring maybe small, subtle sounds close to you, but you would still hear the environment around you.
Oh, actually, there was a piece on the island by Matthew Goodhart that used bone conducting headphones. And that was actually the concept. There was an installation sound, and then the participant would put the bone conducting headphones on, and that would be augmented. It was cool. Yeah. I had another question on a little bit of a different, before we wrap up. I was just wondering if you guys were doing any work on the latency issue. Like, isn't there is in software, can't you do some settings? You can ping somebody, find out how far away they are, and then adjust some. Isn't it a software issue? Where do you think that, if it is, where is it going?
Yeah, you can optimize. I mean, there's the software said. What you want to do is to avoid glitches in the transmission. So on the network, the latency is there's variation in the latency. So you want to try to find the minimal time that satisfies the fact that all the data arrive in time.
But it sounds like it also has to be variable, right? So whatever you set it on, one ping is going to be different from the other ping. So your software has to be able to compensate for that. I get it. Yeah.
Exactly. So this is one thing. So it means that even if you have a very fast network, you're kind of always obliged to add an extra latency to deal with this variation, just to get. So this is the first thing, and the second thing is that physically, even the light, the speed of the light is too slow to avoid the by the ear perception of latency. If you take the longest path on the Earth, it's I think it's 2,000 kilometers from one point to the other, going through the surface. and the light takes, I don't remember the exact time, but something like 40 milliseconds, which is something you can hear. I mean, it would not be a drummer, for instance, with very tight timing skills would hear these 40 milliseconds, and it would be too much to deal with. So there's like a physical impossibility on Earth to be able to play same time. So the physical limitation plus the software increase of delay in order to deal with networks and technology means that you cannot actually imagine to get a global way to play music online with whoever on Earth without dealing with this latency. It cannot be achieved unless sometimes communication can go faster than light.
Interesting.
Which is a physics problem. So
it will be with us for a while. That's what you're saying, right?
yeah, that's it.
So I think we should think about wrapping up. One by one, people are leaving us. But this has been really great. It's been super, super interesting. Thank you both for talking all about your work.
Yeah, thank you. It was our pleasure.
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting us. It was fun too.
And wonderful to hear about the collective, the CPT. Really great.
And would be great to see you in person in New York sometime, which is not so far away. And
definitely.
And to others, if anyone, well, yeah, we still have a couple of audience people. So stay tuned. We're not sure whether we'll have one more meeting in 2 weeks or not. Carol and I are getting super, super busy with all sorts of things in the spring, but maybe it's 50-50. So you're on our lists if you're here. So you're on our mailing lists and on our newsletters, and you'll hear about it. And everyone who's been coming, thank you for following us. And this will eventually be on the Harvestworks website along with all the other meetings.
Yes, we have a special OLAP playlist where you can just see all of them. You can do some of that binge watching.
So again, thank you, Michal, and thank you, Nicolas. And
yeah, put me on your mailing list, please.
Okay, we'll do that.
Yes, and for me, please.
Oh, awesome. All right.
Thank you very much.
Yes, have a nice rest of the day and the week, and
yes.
It's very nice to meet you. Please visit if you come to town, I guess, when things get a little bit more loose.
Definitely.
Right.
And there's
Absolutely.
Phil waving at you.
Yeah. Bye, Phil. Bye, Katherine.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Carol.
Bye.
Bye, Nico.